So we're going to find our Tadasana here at the short edge of our mat, facing the short edge of our mat. Maybe look down at your 2 footprints. Let the weight shift back and forth a little bit, side to side, letting the weight evenly distributed through the triangles of the feet. Draw the energy up the legs, remembering if you tend to lock out your knees, just give them a little release there. Let that energy continue up and up through the spine. Let that energy broaden out through the collarbones, down through the arms, through all 10 fingers, a little activity there. And let the energy continue up and out through the top of the head. Connect to your breath. We're going to inhale, and if you can, rise up on your tippy toes as the arms float overhead. Exhale, we'll take the hands to heart center, come off of tippy toes, take that little bend in the knees. So not a full chair, but just a little bend here. Relax the shoulders, hands at heart center. We're going to go through this very slowly to start out, and then maybe we'll move a little bit more quickly. Breathe and relax the shoulders. See if you can maintain that openness through the chest and collarbones. We're going to take an inhale, shift your weight into your right foot, lift the left, and step back on an exhale to a lunge position. So that right foot is forward, the left foot is back, knee is bent. So on this side, I'm going to go ahead and use the chair. So just in case, for those of you that need the prop, you can see how that looks here. So feel free to hold on to this chair. Also, feel free to make your stance a little bit wider. So I tend to keep my legs in my feet in their own tracks, right from where I stood, stepping back. But if you feel wobbly or unstable, you have the chair or your furniture for balance. But feel free to maybe widen that stance a little bit more. See how that changes things for you if you feel more stable there, right? So just have a feel for that. That back heel is lifted. Another thing is if you don't feel stable with that back heel lifted, you can take a little shorter stance and let that heel come to the floor. So more of a warrior one stance, but finding what's right for you. And just notice where your hips landed. When you stepped back with that left leg, did your hips shift a bit to the left there? See if you can draw back in that right hip crease and really square the hips to the front of the mat. So you might notice a difference in sensation, how that feels, a deeper stretch in the front of the left hip here. Maybe you feel a little more activation in that right hip and glute there. Just notice. If you're not holding on or if you want to test your balance, you can let those hands float up to the sky. Notice your lumbar low back also. So if you're sinking really deeply into it, see if you can drop that tailbone down and lengthen through the spine here. So we'll take a nice big inhale. We're going to exhale and open out to warrior two. So you're just going to spin that back foot, let that heel drop down so the toes point forward towards that long edge of your mat. And just relax. Even if you're not holding a prop, you can take your hands to your hips. Take a look down and make your right heel in line with the arch of your left foot. So your right toes are pointing towards that short edge of your mat. Your left toes are pointing toward the long edge of your mat. Or maybe if you're mirroring me, your feet might be the different foot you're working on, but that's okay. So you also want this bent knee stacked right over that ankle. So this is my right leg. So my right knee is stacked right over my right ankle. So checking it, a lot of times it's very normal for that knee to want to fall inwards. See if you can press it open. Maybe even take your hand there to press that knee open. Give a little press into the floor. See if that activates those muscles of the legs, makes you feel a little more stable. Remember, you can always hold on, hands at the hips. Full warrior two are those arms extended, one forward and one back, looking out across that forward fingertip. So you can relax the shoulders. Now remember, you can always take the arms out of it. You can keep the hands at the hips. You can be holding on with one hand and one hand extended and one hand on the hip, finding your warrior two. So we're going through this one very, very slowly so you can find your modifications. Breathe here and relax. Your body's working a little bit. Let the tailbone drop straight down. So make sure you're not leaning forward here in the chest. You want your chest stacked right over your hips. And check in with that leg. If you found it wobbled forward at the beginning, chances are it'll tend to creep in that way again. So keep that active, engaging that outer right hip and thigh to keep that right knee stacked over that ankle. And we're going to flow a little bit here. We're going to inhale reverse warrior. Inhale, let the left arm or your back arm come down the back leg and the front arm reach up to the sky. Make sure you're not putting any pressure here on this leg. If you need to hold on for stability, hold on at the hip. Take a breath or two here. Maybe take a peek down, make sure that knee is behaving itself over here. We're going to take a nice big inhale here. With our exhale, we're going to come to side angle. So the right elbow to the right knee or thigh, or if that's not in your practice, take your hand to your chair here and let the left arm come up and over. And remember, if you have arm issues, shoulder issues, and this movement isn't appropriate for you, this hand can always stay on the hip. We want the shoulders stacked. We don't want to be collapsing forward. All right, so side angle here, elbow on the thigh. If you can, if not, hold on to your chair. Check in that that right knee stayed stacked over the ankle, that front knee stayed stacked over the ankle. I like to think of drawing my tailbone back down towards that left heel. Lengthen the crown at this angle over towards that wall, the other side of your room. Again, keeping those shoulders stacked here. Working those legs a bit, we're going to release. Now we're going to inhale, come to that reverse warrior, but straighten that front leg. So give that front leg a little break. Let that openness through that right hip and release the hold of the leg there. So this will be a nice big inhale here. With our exhale, we're going to tip ourselves out to, I'm going to call it half triangle because we're not going to come fully. So let the right fingertips come down, maybe in front of the knee, and the left fingertips reach up to the sky. So maybe you reach down a little bit further. Maybe you're a little bit higher. Maybe you're holding onto your chair. Breathe, see if you can relax the shoulders. Remember, you can always take this hand down to the shoulder or to your hip. You can take your gaze up to those fingertips, up to the sky, or you can look down at the floor, maybe exploring both of those options, seeing which one feels better to you. Make sure you're breathing. Again, keeping that tailbone drawing back towards that left heel. Make sure the rib cage stays in line with the hips. We don't want the rib cage to pop out here. Okay? We're going to inhale and come to stand. So just let both arms float to the sky. We're going to shift our feet so that the toes point out. So move your heels in or your toes out, whichever way is appropriate for you. 5-pointed star here. The toes don't have to be out too far. Feel grounded here. Feel the connection to the earth. Use the floor, use the earth. Press those feet in. Let the fingertips reach up and out. Get some energy through there. But check in that you're not lifting up in your shoulders. See if you can draw those shoulder blades onto the back. Breathing here. We're going to sit down now into Goddess. So we're going to take a nice inhale. With our exhale, we're just going to bend the knees and take a little seat. So it could be just a tiny little bend, or it could be really deep here. So finding what's right for you, making sure your knees track in line of your toes. So don't try to force your knees back to where your toes are. Go ahead and turn your toes in a little bit if you need to. And let your tailbone sink straight down, pelvis in that neutral position, the rib cage right over the pelvis. Arms out to goalposts or cactus arms if you can. Again, relax shoulders. Make sure you're not trying to hold those arms up by the tops of your shoulders. Relaxing down. Hands can always come to heart center or to your hips. Breathe. Use the floor. Give a little press away, making you work your legs a little bit here. I promise we won't hold them quite so long in just a few moments. So we're going to inhale, straighten those legs, reach those fingertips back up to that 5-pointed star. Turn the right toes in, left toes out. Find that warrior 2 stance facing the other direction. So take a look down. That this heel is in line with the arch of that back foot now. Relax the shoulders. We're going to come to triangle first. So we're going to let that left arm come down in front of the knee maybe. Again, keep the rib cage in line with the hips. Keep that tailbone drawing back down now towards that right heel. We're going to take an inhale to reverse that triangle. Right arm down or back arm down, front arm up. Breathe there, get a nice stretch in this left side of the body. With our exhale, we're going to bend that front knee, which is the left knee now, and come to our warrior 2. Relax the shoulders. Again, so I'm going to do it on this side without the props. If you need props, make sure you have them on both sides. Finding your warrior two. Check in that that left knee is stacked over that left ankle. Use the floor, press the floor away. Hips sinking straight down, rib cage over the hip. Right, we just want to make sure we're not poking ourselves out this way. We want to stay nice and lined. Hands can be at hips or heart center, or you can reach out through fingertips. Make sure that left knee stays in its place here. One more time, we're going to inhale, reverse our warrior. Keep that front knee bent, right arm down, left arm up, or back arm down, front arm up. Take a peek, make sure that knee stayed where it belongs. And with our exhale, we're going to come to our side angle. So let that left elbow come to the knee or thigh or to your chair. Top arm sweeping up and over, keeping the chest open. Remembering your cues. Your top arm can stay at your shoulder or your hip if it's not comfortable being overhead. Make sure that this knee stays stacked over this ankle. The tailbone now is reaching back towards that straight leg, the heel of that straight leg, which for me is my right leg right now. And the crown is lengthening up and away. Make sure you're breathing. We're going to inhale, come up to warrior two. And we're going to turn ourselves over to high lunge. So you might want to adjust. I'm walking my left foot back a little bit. So as I turn over and lift up that back heel and turn my heel up, I'm in line for my high lunge here on the other side. Let the fingertips float to the sky if you can. Hands can always stay at heart center or at your hips. So again, notice when you've turned into this high lunge where your hips are pointing. This time draw back in that left hip crease, right hip forward, square to the short edge of your mat. We're going to take a nice inhale. With our exhale, we're going to shift our weight forward into that left leg and step together at the other end of your mat. Just straighten the legs and you can find your Tadasana mountain pose. Maybe give a little shake out, work those legs a little bit. I'm going to go through this slowly again, not quite as slow as I did last time, remembering your modifications. So making this practice yours. You don't have to look exactly the way I do. Honoring your body where it is today and allowing yourself permission to take a break if you need to.